flying game, same for the team.
The game is yours to play now.
The light provides.
This is Eventide Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Eventide Radio. This is a fan-made Destiny podcast where we have roundtable discussions about a variety of different topics concerning the popular video game franchise. At its core, this show is by having in-depth discussions about the game from a variety of different perspectives. I'm your host, guiding with me are my co-hosts Rob and Mapador, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about the end of Echoes, the first episode of this year, and we'll talk about the new roadmap that they revealed for what's coming after the third episode, Heresy, I think is the last one.
Yes.
So,
yes.
the future of Destiny and the end of Echoes, including the exotic mission and all that stuff. But, as usual, before we get started, Rob, what have you been up to this week in Destiny?
I've actually been playing Destiny quite a bit.
Nice.
Sunday, was that Sunday map? You and I actually did a stream and played some Iron Banner.
We played a lot of Iron Banner.
We did actually. It was kind of fun.
That was like a good. Was that like 3 hours straight of Iron Banner?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. We womped on some people in Iron Banner and had some fun.
Yeah.
We and then Scotty, you and I played like the night before, and that's when we met Sigourney Weiner.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, Sigourney Weiner was on our Crucible Iron Banner game.
Yeah. And then this week, I buckled down and did like all of the encore stuff, which we'll talk about. And then I also finished the seasonal challenges thing, so I could get that sweet 5,000 bright dust that I'm not going to spend on anything. But I like to do that everything. Like I there was like a handful of things that I wanted to get the Intrepid title, so I got that done. I got Conk title finished and gilded. And then I also I did the seasonal challenge stuff. And that way and then I got like all the red border seasonal weapons like finished and unlocked. So that was like I kind of wanted to accomplish all of those things. Oh, and I got the legend title completed as well. I think I did that last week. But yeah, so lots of like end of season roundup, like just kind of getting everything all prepped and ready for next season. So that's what I was doing this week.
Sweet. Did you purchase the hand cannon?
I did not. I probably should.
Do it.
I feel like I owe it to myself.
I can't open it yet, but it looks very cool.
You have to buy it by Tuesday.
Huge.
All right, I'll while we're chatting, I'll look at it.
It's $50. It's like $50. It's just cheap for what it is. I think. I know I sound like maybe people are gonna call me a shill for that, but
no, I think it's a fairly reasonable price. Ryan got it. He was sending me a video in our little Destiny group chat, and it's like it's motorized and stuff. And like you were saying, Map, it's and like you were saying, Map, it's got like the little it reloads like the actual Ace of Spades, so like the little barrel like pops out of the side, and you like fill it in like a.
I don't know.
It's really
know
cool.
Enough about guns to the technical term because it's not a mag. It's not a drum. It's not a drum, is it? No.
It might be
a drum. Would be for a. I feel like a drum is for a machine gun of sorts.
You put the bullets in the cool thing the way it does in the game.
You put the bullet in the gun, it go brr.
Exactly. Yeah, it seems pretty cool. I'm gonna have to.
It's called the cylinder, by the way.
The cylinder. That's the word. That's the word.
Rob's gonna take us into the deep part of the woods and show us guns.
No.
Matt, what have you been up to this week in Destiny?
I was gonna say I did the legend title, but I did that the day it came out.
Yeah,
yeah, you did.
I wanted that Ace of Spades, man. I really wanted it.
I respect the grind.
Well, you can't have those sorts of models of normal weapons in the UK. I mean, you can, but it's just not worth that
Too
hassle.
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. Took in like £100+ just for one.
Sure.
But no, I just did a bit of PvP. I did the exotic mission because I had not done it. No one had been on or around. A lot of my clan had been ill or busy with work or life or other things. So, and I didn't want to just do it with randoms, and I couldn't be bothered to solo it.
Yeah.
So we did that. And I mean, we'll get to that later. But yeah, I haven't done much really. Been preoccupied with other things. But I need to do trials again with a few people in the clan so they can finish off the seal. So that's on the to-do list.
Nice.
Because I've returned to trials after me quitting trials from the stupid prismatic hunter.
Yeah, it's a little toned down now. It's more reasonable.
Yeah. I had. It was funny. I had someone who hasn't really played Destiny that much join me, and they've only played PvP a little bit, and they got to experience. Imagine only really playing when there was stasis. Was the most weird thing you would see, and then coming back and playing and you only played a few matches of PvP, and being thrown into seeing prismatic and wondering what the fuck Strand is, getting flown at by green things. And then someone dodging and another person appears. It's quite jarring for a new person. So that was quite entertaining.
That's funny. As far as me, I've been up to basically just trying to finish the legend title because I want the gun and it looks cool.
Did you get the engram part completed?
The engram part, which is just like open a bunch
in the
of
Skywatch getting
that was
getting
worrying to hear for a second.
No, I did not get that done.
How
yet,
far through?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I gotta look. I think I'm at like 0% probably. I don't even think I started that.
I'll pray for you later. I'm not religious, but I'll pray.
I would say get that done first because that's like the most tedious.
I'm worried about getting the rank 8 and the just whatever it's called, that thing. And
I was already past it, so I didn't. Is that a requirement?
It is a requirement,
and
I'm not there. Cause
what have you got to do for it?
I have to get I think 2 of the Pathfinder rewards, which is gonna be a pain in the ass.
How have you not done this?
I don't know.
Scotty,
for shame.
I know.
For shame.
But I have to get those. And it ends Tuesday, so
I don't condone bullying, but I think we should start bullying.
I think
playing
so.
Destiny more. Do you know what, I think it's the PS4, man. I think it's
a PS4. I blame
it's
the
not
PS4.
motivating you enough to play Destiny.
No, also it takes too long to load into the game. It takes 20 minutes to get in.
God, it's going to take you twice as long as to get those engrams, man.
Oh, no, I'm not looking forward to that. Anyways, good transition into our first topic. I did the other week. I don't think it wasn't this week, but the week Encore came out, the exotic mission. I did try doing that, and I tried soloing it, and it was cool. I had fun. It was fun. I like soloing stuff like that where it's not like super challenging or anything, and it's fun to figure out all the mechanics on your own and whatever. But it's a pretty long mission, and I was playing through it, and near the end, I got to the final boss, and I think I wiped on the boss, and I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom, go grab a glass of water or something. And I'm like, surely there are checkpoints if I get booted, right? And there are not checkpoints, and I came back after 5 minutes. I got booted from a solo activity, mind you, and there are no checkpoints in that mission, which was kind of wild. And so I had spent 2 hours trying to get to that point, and I was like, I don't really feel like doing this ever again.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that.
Yeah, so that was disappointing, but that I think should be our first topic. We should talk about the new exotic mission that came out in Act 3.
I get why there isn't a checkpoint, because I imagine it's just the time is the same as if it was. Well, I mean, there's no checkpoints in the timed exotic missions, because they.
Yeah, but that's a 20-minute mission.
Yeah. I get. Yeah.
Encore is long as hell. And I was surprised that there were absolutely 0 checkpoints. And I'm surprised that even if I'm in a solo activity that no one can join, that I get kicked. I don't understand that. But anyways,
save on that bandwidth.
Yeah, apparently. Whatever. So the new mission Encore, in case you're out of the loop, came out in Act 3, and it is a new part of the story and progresses the whole Maya Sundaresh plotline. And the new exotic is Choir of One, which is the new what is it? An auto rifle or something?
It's a special ammo auto rifle that fires
special ammo auto rifle.
Wyvern Void. I forget the name of the gun that they use.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty dope. It's pretty sweet. But the mission itself has gotten kind of mixed reactions, I would say. But as usual, the exotic missions are always a pretty big part of Destiny, so it's been a hot topic, I think, in the community right now. So we'll start with you, Rob. What did you think of the mission on your first playthrough? Not counting the multiple times you had to replay it, but on your first playthrough, what did you think?
I will say the pacing of it is pretty good. The jumping puzzle I put air quotes around puzzle, but the jumping puzzle part doesn't overstay its welcome. Like, it's there just long enough to go, yeah, it's cool. And then it feels like it's pretty much nonstop action the whole time. The actual like puzzle mechanic of you have the spoilers if you haven't played it yet. There are different colored kind of like buffs that you have to pick up, and each one does like a different thing. Like blues open portals, yellows reveal like kind of hidden walls, and green arrows kind of create like platforms that you can jump onto, and so you have to kind of do certain parts in specific sequences where it's like you open a portal, but if you remove the buff, it like removes the portal, so you have to like open it so that you can put something else there to keep it open, and then grab another blue buff from another place so you can open a portal inside that portal room. And there's a couple things like that where it's like, it from like a problem solving standpoint, it reaches that limit of just like, oh, that's kind of fun to solve, and you feel good about solving it. I will say on subsequent replays, it does not overstay its welcome either, because it's not like, you know exactly what you need to do. So if you're trying to go through it and get like the catalyst type stuff, which we'll talk about, it's not as bad to have to redo it versus like some prior mechanics where it feels like such a slog. Like, it goes pretty quick, and once you have it solved, you move along pretty quickly, and it's fun. My first playthrough was fun. Like, like one of the guys I ran it with had already solved it, but he was kind of like letting me and the other guy figure out what to do. And if we got stuck, he'd go, "Hey, maybe we should try this." But it never really got to that point. Like, it was fun to figure out and play. So
yeah.
First time experience was cool.
Cool. Matt, what about you? What'd you think of it on your first playthrough?
So, I've only done one run of it, and it wasn't. I knew I had to do it a load of times because I hadn't done it when it first came out.
Yeah.
And normally for all the exotic missions, I'd go in blind, but one of my clanmates had already done it. So me and my other clanmate who hadn't done it joined him, and he basically just took us through it. And I was very tired at the time and didn't really pay attention to I did pay attention, but I mean more so like I didn't take it in as much because I knew I'd have to do it multiple times, so it kind of ruined it going in to the first time. I wouldn't have done that if, I'd done it on the first week and it had come out. But like having the foresight to be like, oh, I've got to do this again, I'd rather just be shown where some of the secrets were for the time, so I didn't have to do them again. And other stuff. The mechanics are fine. I prefer the exotic missions like 0 Hour, where there's a timer and you got to race through things. I'm not a huge fan of the exploring ones, if that makes sense. I know there is that element in both, but I feel like I like you've got to run all down these tight corridors and small things, and figure out how to get to a place or something. There is a bit of that in the mission, but the timer adds so much to it. I did like the two bosses that you fight in the middle. They were just a nice pace. They broke up the platforming and discovery section, which is good. Yeah. And I had heard, I know I'm a music person for the game, I had heard the track for the boss before I'd played it, so I was looking forward to hearing that again, because they used the, I've forgotten the name of the track now, but it's become the Ishtar Collective
theme,
Vex motif, yeah.
Yeah.
It did not play when we killed the boss, because we killed the boss very, very, very quickly. The boss has not got a lot of health. No. I get it. It's a soloable mission. That's fine. But yeah, he died very, very quickly. But yeah, no, I thought it was fine. It was definitely better than what's the one on Mars?
The Dead Messenger one, whatever that one was called.
Yeah, I've forgotten the name of that, but it's definitely better than that one.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I don't think it's the environments are nice, but I just think what you do in it, it's gonna continue, and they get a bad rap. But I just feel like for some reason Bungie just can't nail Vex things.
In terms of
just gameplay and story wise, I think Garden is the best Vex thing that they've done, but because of how the mechanics need patience, people just don't like it. But everything else that the Vex are in, I mean, it's a larger problem. I think they just can't nail down. Like, whenever there's like a weak point in the story, or it's typically around Vex, like Curse of Osiris, Season of the Undying.
Yeah.
Now, episode 1. They're all Vex stuff, and they're all going to be remembered as, oh, that was not great.
Yep. Very true.
So it's quite unfortunate that Bungie can't nail the Vex down, but I'm hoping now that we've got I know it's a side tangent, but I'm hoping now that we've got sort of like a face for the Vex, that we have like an actual villain to talk to, that now the next Vex story we have will be better.
Will be more interesting. Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the story content. I think, like I was saying, I was kind of saying this before we started the podcast, but I feel like I am way out of the loop with some of this lore stuff, and so a lot of this Maya Sundaresh conductor business, I am just not really that involved with. Like, I don't really care, just because I don't understand what's happening. I mean, it's not like terrible. I just don't feel super invested in it, just because I feel like I've missed like a million chapters or something.
I think Bungie has they found like a good middle ground, where before there'd be like the base level story of a season or an expansion, that if you didn't know anything about lore, it's like a really simplified person evil, go get this story.
Yeah.
But then in the lore, there's some really cool stuff going on. And in the last few years, they've managed to sort of put them together, so the stories have been more interesting for the surface level, people who aren't as into the lore. But then the lore's also been good. Whereas with this, it felt like it went back a little to how it was before, where the lore and why the stuff is going on is interesting, but the actual talking and the characters and the things going on in like the seasonal story just isn't engaging for people who aren't kept up.
Yep. I would agree. I think, what do you guys think of, because I think this is something that Destiny sometimes struggles with, the actual telling of the story, like the way it's delivered, in terms of Encore and some of the major stuff that happens, like when, you find out that the conductor is, sifting through a bunch of different versions of Jum Essie and like murdering the ones she doesn't like think are the real ones. How do you guys feel about the way it was delivered, with like finding that room and stuff? And like one thing I thought was really cool was, when she like rage messages you via text chat underneath your radar.
I wish it was more on your screen. I think it's cool that it's a small detail that you could that you can miss, but also at the same time, I feel like you shouldn't. And like your HUD for your character is something your guardian sees through their helmet.
Yeah.
So I feel like it should have been more front and center. Like when your super is charged, it displays on your, it's supercharged on your screen, and I feel like the text should have been all over the screen. Like they need to do something like that.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you guys know anyone who actually missed that?
What do you mean?
Like, is there anyone who? Like, do you know anyone who played the mission and didn't see that though?
Not to hand, but I know I've read stuff before and people have missed it on the side of the screen. So
okay, fair.
I knew it was gonna. I knew it was gonna be said, because I'd seen people posting about it. As I said, I was not in the space of looking for things. I could have easily missed it, but I knew it was going to be said, so I was like sort of keeping an eye out for it. But I imagine if someone was just not paying attention, they would have missed it.
Sure.
I know that's like a casual perspective for some people, but I feel
No,
like
that's valid.
It's cool, but like saying like I survive the collapse, I can survive you, and that's cool to have in the small text. But like other things, like when you get teleported by Eris, like even in Destiny 1, they'd do stuff with your screen and around you, like your HUD, to make it look like there was like magic, hive magic going on. Like they should do that more and have things interact with like say just the screen. I know it's such a small criticism, but especially with Vex, now that we have a person to talk to in the Vex, because we haven't. Yeah.
How do you guys feel about what they're doing with Saint's storyline this season, with his whole identity crisis and all that?
It was a neat idea, especially to kind of draw parallels with, like, there's 127 copies of Lakshmi and Shioma and all those other researchers, and like trying to find the one that's most mathematically accurate to what Maya Sundaresh is looking for. And you realize that that's kind of like what we did when we helped Osiris in the Tunnels of Time, or whatever the heck it was called.
Corridors of Time.
They're
tunnels of
time.
Tunnels of Time. That sounds like a Ninja Turtles thing. Like,
yeah,
Tunnels of Time. Wipeout. No. Like there's some neat parallels of just like, you can get into kind of the philosophy of like, oh, what does it mean for your like identity, and split timelines and mathematical approximations of the same person, and it's like you're 1/1,000,000th of the percent different than what the correct version was that died, and you go to his grave like in that one mission, and like it's kind of cool. Like it's a neat thing. It's just, this is gonna sound really negative. It's just kind of like it's gotten to a point where like I don't know.
It's hard to care.
Yeah.
No,
like,
I get it. It's at that point. I agree, where it's just like I don't know. It feels like going through the motions a little bit.
Yeah, it does, and like I feel like we keep coming back to this like Osiris and Saint 14 stuff over and over again, and it's like I feel like their stories kind of like they've gone through like an arc and trials and tribulations of like Saint 14 came back, and then Osiris lost his ghost and was taken over by Savathun, and then he went into a coma, and then we woke him up from the coma, and now they're together again, and it's like we've gone through so many motions with them. It's like, can't we have like another character or set of characters be kind of like in the spotlight? Like and it's not to say that I don't like their characters. I'm just kind of over their plight and
I'm over Osiris specifically. Personally.
Yeah, I think maybe that's more what it is.
I think he has been used way too many times. He has way too much screen time at this point.
See,
like you were saying, he's gone through
I don't
like
mind
17
Osiris.
arcs.
It's Saint for me.
Really?
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe it's just because of Trials. I think it's just hearing his voice in Trials.
You've heard his voice probably a lot more than we have.
So I'm just like, use the big guns. I love it. It's like,
Can I have to bring this up periodically. Yeah. I still don't fully understand how Season of the Plunder, the punchline to collecting the parts of Nezarec, ended up so that we can make a Nez Cafe and bring back Osiris. Like I still don't understand. Like there was no like indication of that at the beginning. It just was like, well, we have all these weird decrepit bone and powder parts. Let's make a tea, and oh, by the way, that's going to bring back Osiris, like that. Or Osiris.
I'll just say that was a plot point in Doctor Who, of waking someone back up with tea, and it was more stupid and random than in the Destiny, and it was like David Tennant's first episode. So,
well, I mean, it's like because like that whole season, I was on board with like, hey, we have these weird things of evil that the Fallen are grabbing, and it's giving them like fake powers, and we should probably stop them and collect all the Dragon Balls. Like that's fine. Like that's what that season felt like. And then just like at the 11th hour, it's like, oh, by the way, we can use these parts to bring back Osiris. When I was like, I felt like at no point was that mentioned. I know it's like a complete side tangent, but that like really pissed me off. Where I'm like,
no, I get that,
wait, what? We can do that? Like,
like I get why people don't like. Like, I understand why people don't like Osiris, but just personally for me, I don't like. I think his character was most entertaining for me in Nightfall when people were complaining that he was being a grumpy old man. I'm like, yeah, but I just found that entertaining. Like, I enjoyed that when he was he was sitting there having a meltdown about Strand. I thought that was entertaining for me.
Flow like the river, Guardian.
I don't like it when he's being pompous and like being treated as like like when he was a bit treated like holier than thou, sort of like, oh, he's really important to all these other people. It's like, no, in Nightfall he was quite grounded because it was just a few people who didn't really know him and he was getting angry. Whereas when he was first back introduced into Destiny as a character, everyone's like, oh, it's Osiris, he's what's he gonna say? What's he gonna do? And we've got over that now. But yeah, for me, Saint, I don't really care for Saint.
Yeah, that's
you
swooped in like a bird of prey. Whatever the fuck.
Well, I think but that part of that is because like
it was Saint 14 impression.
All of like Destiny 1, we kept hearing about the great feats of Osiris and Saint 14, right? Like, so it's like for 5 years we were kind of hearing about both these characters, and then in Curse of Osiris, he finally comes back, and you have that really cool mission where you find the grave of Saint 14. And you get Perfect Paradox. Like I think that was all cool. And then it was like, now that they finally brought these characters back, it's like, now we have to show how awesome they are. And it's like, I feel like they already did that. Like, they accomplished what they were trying to do for the last 5 years by like, okay, they're back and now they can be together. Like, that's cool. But they don't need to keep being recurring. Like, and I guess
I think the problem is as well is when we see these characters, it's just those two. We don't get their
Yes,
dynamic
I was about
with
to
other
mention
people.
that. I would like to see them interact with other characters, 100%.
It's like we don't get Osiris interacting. We actually did get Osiris with Zavala a little bit in Chosen.
Yeah, that's true.
But we haven't since. And although it was Savathun, I did like Osiris and Crow. I'd like to see Osiris and Drifter as an interesting pairing,
totally,
for a story, or Osiris, Eris, and Drifter. I feel like those three need to interact a bit more, and then having Saint with it would have been cool to see Cade with Saint. Obviously, can't do that anymore.
I know. We get that one line during Excision or whatever. He's like, Saint 14's alive? Like,
he's like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he was literally just in the Pale Heart the whole time.
Right. Well, and that's kind of the unfortunate, like, we talked about this a little bit during our thoughts on Final Shape, but it's like, now that they've kind of brought Nathan Fillion and then killed him off again, it's like, now that's like missed opportunities for future interactions that we're never going to get. And it's like, I feel like they shouldn't have been so hasty to like remove Saint or
I get why they did it, because I don't think they were ever going to pay for him again, because he's an expensive and demanding, like, he's a busy guy. And they didn't want to just leave him as an NPC just standing there in the like, I get that, and I prefer the ending to Final Shape with that than the cut version. I think the cut version was naff.
Yeah, I have to agree with you.
It's a force heal. It's a force heal thing. Oh, if we can heal someone from that, then what's the point? Yeah, it's that.
Yeah, that's true. I do think the ending of Final Shape is pretty impactful. I see your point where it's like, yeah, there's a lot of potential with Cade to interact with other characters that he never interacted with, but I think the ending of Final Shape was just kind of perfect.
But it yes, but they said that I keep saying Cade in Saint 14. They kept saying Cade's never coming back, and then they clearly brought him back for Final Shape out of desperation. And if they do it again, it will be like stupid at that point.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
and
they better not.
Where it's like they if they're gonna do it, that's fine. They need to commit to doing it though. Like they can't bring him back again when they're like, well, player count's really, really low. We need to knock it out of the park with whatever the next expansion is. Like, no. You've closed that door forever now, and bringing him back again would just be like the dumbest shit ever. And that's the part where I'm like, you said you said before that he was never coming back, and then you brought him back. Like, don't do that again. And that's kind of more where I'm at, where I'm like, that's fine. But you guys need to commit this time to not bringing him back. Otherwise, it will kind of feel like, and I stand by this. I hate Avengers Endgame because having a time travel plot where then nobody actually died and then there's no impact. Like if they do that again, where it's like, oh well, we're just gonna keep bringing Cade back for like arbitrary reasons. Yeah. It becomes less and less impactful each time for like the subsequent sacrifice, where it's like
I agree with you with the Marvel standpoint, because I remember when Infinity War came out, and I was like, well, one, they sold this film as a part one,
right?
Two, do you genuinely think they'd kill off those characters when they haven't had their own films? Like, are you mad?
I know, but that's like a stupid reason to like have anything, because then it's like it's just. And now I know we're going off on a tangent on Marvel, but it's like now that they have this whole like multiverse thing, there's literally no stakes, because if someone dies, well, we'll just grab them from a different alternate universe, and it's like they're not gone. And it's like you have to stop doing that, because now there's no impact to someone's sacrifice or loss, because it's just like, well, we'll just grab Wolverine from a different universe, and it's just like,
I mean, I stopped watching Marvel after Age of Ultron. I can't lie.
Yeah, I stopped after Endgame, but it's like it just presents this problem of like, there's no sacrifice, there's no impact, you don't feel anything if there's no actual sense of permanence, and that's all I'm getting at with the Saint or the Cade thing is like,
I feel like they're not gonna bring him back. Like they've done it enough. They're not gonna like. They're just not. I don't think he'll show up again. If he genuinely shows up again, I genuinely think he will never show up again.
Yeah, but then 100%. People will, if they do, people will just eat it up and just like, don't think, just consume. And that's like, I don't want it to be like Marvel level.
Well, I mean, stupid. we'll go into it more when we talk about the roadmap stuff, but I feel like we're going to get a lot of new characters.
Yeah, I think so, and I like that's cool. Yeah, we can talk about the roadmap and that kind of stuff.
What do we think of episode 1?
Episode just overall?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much finished now, isn't it? Like,
I haven't finished it. That's what I think.
So I finished it. It feels like a season. Like, let's just call a spade a spade.
It's a season.
Speaking of Cade, it's a long season, and that's fine. I think the delivery, doing it in 3 acts, is an interesting idea. I don't know if it works with the cadence of like there's things that need to also come out with each act, that like one of the biggest things, like each act brought another row of perks to the artifact. Like, that's cool, but then we didn't get additional artifact slots. So it just made things more tedious with having to swap things around, to the point where I literally at no point used anything in that bottom row except for once to give my auto rifle overload champions. Like, I didn't play with the new artifact perks because I'm like, I'm already like kind of set up with my build. Like, I don't want to like readjust everything and then have to redo everything with my build again. Like, it just kind of, I know that's like a silly thing to get pissed off about, but it's like, it was just kind of annoying and made it, as the season went on, more tedious to like interact with. And by the 3rd act, I just kind of wanted to get the content done, and I like the pacing just was off. And I was telling Scotty before we started, having the mission come out and on the 3rd act was a bad idea, because first of all, having all of the story be wrapped up in the exotic mission was terrible because it was just all you had to do for 3 weeks in a row was just complete the exotic mission over and over again. I had no desire to do that, so I didn't do it basically for the first or second week. I just waited for the third week, like to go do and interact with all the secret stuff, and because I was so exhausted and uninterested in the way it was presented, and like the last 2 specimen missions were kind of tedious. I did like unlocking the little pterodactyl animals to add to the helm spoilers. So there's Captain Jacobson, and then there's also now 2 little like pterodactyls that you unlock, and they're adorable because they just hang out on like a little perch in the helm next to Jacobson. So that's cool. But it was just like, I don't know what the right word is, maybe fatigue, but it's just by the time the third act came out, I didn't want to do the exotic mission over and over again just to get everything unlocked, but you kind of had to, and because I wanted to get the title and I wanted to get all the seasonal stuff done, so that's like kind of on me. But ultimately, it's like, it was a bad delivery. Like, they should have had it where maybe at the end of the first act, you unlock the mission, and you do like a very simplified version of it just to get the exotic weapon unlocked, and you can kind of play with it, but then as the season goes on, you unlock more of the mission, you explore more of the place, you get more of the catalyst stuff, you get more of the upgrades and the intrinsics and all of that. But to have it just all shoved at the very end just kind of threw off the pacing for the entire like season. And I think that was a detriment. I think my favorite was the middle act, because it introduced the battlegrounds, which were pretty awesome. And I think those were done really well because they felt like strikes, and the fact that all 3 of them kind of play out like you're delving deeper and deeper each one into the core of Nessus, I think was really awesome. And I think done very effectively, and I'm glad that those as battlegrounds are sticking around, because I think they are probably
they're good.
They're good. They're great, and I think they're the best part of what came out of this season.
The battlegrounds and like the
battlegrounds. Okay. The battlegrounds are good. They're cool combat. They're cool missions. They're like cool spaces. Like in terms of like aesthetic, like they're super cool.
They're much better than any of the battlegrounds we've had before because they were made with new spaces.
Yeah, and they feel like strikes, and they're
like a good mix of the two.
Yeah,
enemy
you feel
density
like
from battlegrounds, but like the progression and new areas of like a strike.
Yeah, exactly. And you feel like you're diving into like kind of like the sewer seedy underside of like Nessus, right? Because you're following where the Vex Milk trail goes, and it's really cool. So I definitely think that's like the best part, and that was, I think, where it like season or act 2 kind of rejuvenated my interest, because like the beginning of it, we're still playing the final shape, we're still exploring the Pale Heart, we're doing these missions and unlocking the red borders, and then it kind of like dies down, and then act 2 came out, and it's like, oh, we're introducing these battlegrounds, and they're great, they're implemented well, they're fun, they added a couple new weapons, it's cool, and then by the time you get to act 3, you're done, like mentally you're kind of checked out, and then it's like, no, now you have to do this exotic mission a bunch of times, and it's like, ugh, and that's how it kind of, it leaves that final taste in your mouth of like not great. And I hate to say this, like I don't want any more exotic missions like this. Like they did it with Oathkeeper, and like I don't know, it just feels like the most painful with this one, because it just like, I don't know, there wasn't enough there to engage me with the exotic mission overall. It was fun to do it once or twice, not so fun on repeat.
Yeah, no, I get that. I've only played it the once. I thought it was pretty cool. It is a very long mission, I feel like. I have not replayed it, but it feels too long for a mission that you are asked to repeat multiple times. You know, it's lengthy, right. And I have no problem with lengthy until you're asked to play it a gazillion times for content.
Funny.
Right. And I think it wouldn't feel that way if they didn't like load it all at the back end. Like if they had done something like the first time you go in there, you go up to just those 2, like the tormentor and the other guy, like you fight them.
Oh yeah.
If you were to like complete that and you got the exotic weapon there,
And the
and
Vex
that's all.
teleport you out. They force you out of the place.
Right, they force you out. You get you get the weapon, and that's how like Act 1's. If they end how Act N. Wow. If that is how Act 1 ended, sorry, that was my brain kind of shut down temporarily. If that's how they ended Act 1, that would be cool, right? They kick you out, and you're like, oh, I just got like part of a taste. And then if halfway through Act 2 you go in and you're like, oh wait, there's a whole other part of this mission, and that's when you get to all the Maya Sundaresh stuff and the where like she ports in part of like the Venus research labs, like all of that stuff is cool. And if you didn't get to that until way later, and that's where you get the catalyst and all the other secret stuff, right? I think that would have been way more effective in terms of like how this mission should have been implemented. But instead it was just like, here it is all at the end, and you're so tired of this act or this season that you just want to like move on. And I think it was poorly executed. I think that's really
do we think that the next two acts are going to be better than this one?
It's probably too late to fix fundamental things. I just hope we don't get another exotic mission that's like this. But I worry if they do, it's going to be this exact same formula where they're going to build it up all season, and then it's going to be there at the very end, and you're just going to like go through the motions of like, oh, let me just unlock everything before it goes away. And I think that is like not the way you should do it.
I do think that the next two episodes are going to be better.
I think so. I think with the actual like enemies, I think the Scorn and the Hive are going to be probably more compelling.
Yeah.
And one of you brought up that Bungie's always kind of had a problem with the Vex, where it's like
they've kind of fumbled each Vex story.
Right. And I think trying to put an actual like brooding villain behind it is probably the first step in steering that.
Yes.
She's interesting and compelling enough that I think it's good. And really, like, part of the point of the Encore mission is she's trying to give them not agency, but like a sense of individuality, right? So she's trying to break the Vex mold.
She needs to kill a character.
Yeah, I think so. I think, honestly, I hate to say it, if she actually killed Saint 14 or something like that might have actually been a little more. But they did that with Lightfall, right? Like in the first season, they kill Amanda Holiday, and that was kind of like,
yeah, but she wasn't killed. She was killed by a force, not a person.
That's true. That's true.
Like it's the same thing with Aldrin. If even if the character's not the most beloved, like I liked Amanda as a character, but she wasn't there that much. And it's like you can't really get angry at anyone. It was just like, oh, she fucking got killed by Cabal that blew up a base. I think the death was sadder at the time because of Lance.
Right.
Because then we had that bit of Zavala mourning her and giving that, like, essentially like, not speech, but at her grave.
Oh, eulogy.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
You googly, yes.
Eulogy. Yeah, he gave the eulogy at like, I say, a grave, or and it was it felt more impactful because obviously Lance had passed like that around that time. Like, I think it was that week,
right?
Or the just the week prior. But I feel like if Maya killed one of the main characters that we currently have, people would instantly take her more seriously. But she needs to have more. She couldn't do it this season. She did it this season too soon. If she does it later on,
yeah.
I'm wondering who would pull the short straw though if they were going to kill anyone off. I don't think they'd touch the Vala.
You mean they could Saint 14?
Yeah, I think you could. I think people would be irritated if they killed Osiris or Saint 14 because
I feel like it's more likely Osiris just because of the fact that Saint does trials.
Yeah, I think it would be Osiris before Saint 14.
Yeah, it's true. I'd rather them kill Osiris because I'm so tired of Osiris, bro.
Yeah.
He's just been used too many times.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I almost feel like killing characters is like, I don't know, not enough, and it feels like cheap.
No, but
and
I mean in
lazy.
the sense of I don't really know how you would make Maya more threatening and people take her seriously as a like the
okay.
larger community take her seriously
as an
unless
actual
she did
villain.
yeah, unless she killed someone.
Sure, I get that.
So we don't get a raid till Apollo.
That's what it says. I am still huffing
Really?
the Omega Copium that they are going to
Wrath
pull.
of the Machine.
That they're going to pull Wrath of the Machine out of their ass. Although I think
I
if
want
they
to
were,
do whatever lines you're doing because I.
I think if like here, okay, but here's the reality. I think if they were going to do that, I think in the desperate attempt to get people back and keep them staying, they would have revealed that at some point. To go,
yes.
Well, at least we got Wrath of the Machine at some point this year to come out. I don't think that's something. I mean, they could. We've talked about this multiple times. They could pull it out of their ass and go, Wrath of the Machine comes out in 2 months or whatever it is. Like in this with Revenant being kind of Scorn / Fallen themed, this would be like a perfect time.
Right. What is interesting is the wording on it. It's new raids and dungeons,
right.
where it says expansion.
That's true.
So not new raid and dungeons or
right.
new raid and it's new raids
right.
and dungeons.
Siva confirmed. Wrath of the Machine confirmed.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Even if they did something where it's like this dungeon that's coming out
doesn't say raid lair either.
Yeah. Because I thought they were going to do this with Crota's End. I didn't think they were going to bring Crota's End all the way back. I thought they would bring it back as like a dungeon where it's like a 3-man activity where you go through Crota's End as like a 3-person team. There would be such a cool if there was a plot where
don't give Bungie an idea of making Wrath a dungeon. No, stop.
But you could totally compromise and go, oh,
no. I want Wrath how it is in D1 put into D2, but just updated.
I do too, but I don't. I think they would have done it by now.
No dungeons. No, I genuinely don't think they have, just purely for the fact of all the Siva stuff and that
Siva mentioned. Sorry.
Was would have to be made into. Speaking of which, someone who doesn't normally play Destiny, who quit because of stasis, has just come on Destiny. I see you, David. I see you. Steam doesn't hide it.
Yeah. But that even gives more reasons to like. You don't have to make it a full-on Siva raid if you have the Scorn going into the chamber.
No. I want to shoot at the Scorn, the Siva Fallen. I want to shoot at the Splicers. I want to shoot their little peg legs, scissor leg people. I want to shoot at Axis. I don't want some Scorn abomination just jumping down from the ceiling and then Eyes Up plays. I don't want that. I want Axis descending from the wall into his big high chair, teleporting around the room, and I dunk glowy orbs into his neck.
All right.
You know,
that's fine. I'm just saying there's part of me that's accepted that like they don't want to bring Siva back into D2, and it's like this is the compromise where you still get Wrath of the Machine. But it doesn't break some rule, even though they keep giving stuff with Siva on it. It's like whatever.
Make Wrath an Omega large raid, like with King's Fall or Last Wish, where it starts with Scourge of the Past, those encounters, and then it moves into Wrath of the Machine. So it's one long Fallen raid. I'd play that. Yeah, I mean, there was supposed leaks, data mining, that Scourge is going to be the next raid to be reprised. I mean, the only thing that adds credibility to that is the Berserkers in the
but that was just
missions.
That was just they had them and they were a great cooperative like mechanic to deal with.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, no,
that's all
I
it was,
agree. I mean, that was just
yeah.
But I was saying you could add berserkers into Wrath. I think I said that before.
Right.
Um,
Oh, I
but
100%. Yeah, you could do that and it would work, and even aesthetically they look like.
I feel like but I know for a story standpoint they're not doing any more Siva, but I just feel like there would be stupid not to have Wrath back in the game. It is the ultimate. Oh my god, let's appease the player base.
Yeah.
Button. Like
Yeah,
they know people like Siva because they make ornaments for Siva stuff all the time, and people buy them. Like they clearly
Right.
buy them.
Right. It's this...
I want a new one-eyed mask ornament. Bungie, they both look ugly. Please give me one.
Yeah, they have this this frustrating obsession with, we're not going to bring Siva back. The Siva story is done, but we're going to keep teasing Siva shit in the game by having these ornaments that we want you to pay for, and we brought Outbreak Perfected back and all of these things. But but Siva's not allowed.
And
it's like,
it is
make up your mind.
Well, it also
They're edging
doesn't
us.
help.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
It also get back in your Siva goon cave. It doesn't help that when Bungie talked about reprisal raids,
right,
they said if the exotic has already come back, we will make a new one for that raid.
Right, and that's the only one that didn't.
And that's the only raid exotic we got in D2 that is from D1 is Outbreak.
Right.
So they were specifically talking about it. So it's not like they haven't. It's not like they've said no, we're never doing it. Like they, so it's got to be. I love how we're talking about the future of Destiny, and it always comes back to fucking Wrath of the Machine and Siva.
It would be so frustrating. And I know, Scotty, you like Scourge, but it would be so frustrating if they could brought Scourge back before
I like
Wrath
Scourge,
of the Machine.
but I feel like it's more
fine,
likely. It's probably more likely.
But it's like Wrath of the Machine is such low hanging fruit in terms of what would completely rejuvenate the interest. And you would literally bring people who are still playing D1 out. I mean, I know people
haven't played Destiny since D1, and they said that if Wrath came back, they would install D2 and play.
There's a lot of people I know.
Two separate people who have said that.
Exactly.
Wasn't there a guy at GDQ this year who did a solo Wrath of the Machine speed run at GDQ? I think I don't know. There's literally a huge community still rallied behind just Wrath of the Machine. It's crazy to me that they haven't done any kind of just even the stupidest of little hints and go, yeah, it's coming, don't worry, we're still working on it. Just give why do they refuse to make this the one raid out of D1 that they're not bringing back, even though it's arguably the most beloved out of after Vault of Glass? And
I don't love Vault of Glass.
I know you don't like VOG. I'm just saying from the sake of what's the most popular things that come from D1? You have VOG, you have Wrath of the Machine,
King's Fall.
And King's Fall. And Crota's End was always made fun of it as the strike, and they did some amazing stuff to make Crota's End, but it's the fact that they rebuilt Crota's End and King's Fall and Vault of Glass in D2, and just for some reason they're not doing Wrath of the Machine is stupid, because it is arguably the most popular raid from
because of
D1.
the enemies used in it.
Yeah, and that's the reason, and it's the dumbest reason.
Well, yeah, but I feel like if they didn't just throw it together with normal Fallen, shows that they care about it.
I guess, but
I feel like they could have easily just gone, here you go, Wrath of the Machine, and it's just normal Fallen running around, and people would be angry at that. But I feel like their reluctancy to do that, and that they haven't, is if we're gonna bring it back, we want to do it properly.
Do it right.
That's just that's copium.
That is copium
from me.
That's definitely
copium
from me.
I think that is the. I think that's the worst rationale, not from your perspective. If that's the reason, that's a horrible reason. But
I think that's what they think. I think they haven't done it. No, I'm not saying they haven't done it because of. I mean, in the sense of, I feel like if they were going to fob it off and half-arse it, they would have done so already.
Yeah.
And just thrown in normal Fallen. But because they haven't done that, I feel like they're committed to, at some point, doing it properly. I could eat my words. They could bring back Wrath, and it's just normal fallen
But
enemies. It would piss
they've
off people.
you know they like at the end of the day, the Siva-ified Fallen were a reskin of Fallen opponents, right? Like they had
Yeah,
some
they
some
were,
subtle
yeah.
changes to like the
Peg
when
leg.
when you shoot them in the head, the nanites like kind of go and attack you. Like other than that, it's a reskin. How many times have they reskinned the Vex? I mean, we literally this season got Vex with the stupid halos around them, and right, so it's like so they're not shy about just reskinning enemies. Like if that's the reason, they already have the Siva nanite like working in the game, and I know it's not the exact same thing, but they've already gone through the effort to like develop the Siva aesthetic in D2. They're not shy about reskinning enemies in this either. So it's like,
do you think
all of the
they've
parts
got,
of
like,
the puzzle are there. Just
they've
do
got
it.
a little like counter thing in Bungie where it says when player count hits this number, press for Wrath the Machine.
I think so, but they
And-
have to be at that point, right? Like
Yeah, and then it hit it the other week on Steam, and
Right.
and they're like, right, here we go. We start working on Wrath now.
right.
I mean, we get like for like it doesn't say any new raid for Revenant or Heresy, which
No.
yeah.
And
So we only get one raid this year. So I mean, we get an exotic mission each episode, so
Right.
that'll be interesting.
We
But
are-
with expansions, so they're paid, but the seasonal activities and the seasonal stuff in between is not. But there's a season pass
Right.
that's like basically just the battle pass.
Right. I mean, we are gonna get
That's
we are gonna
paid.
get 2 dungeons. Like
So they've slightly, so according to this anyway, they're slightly changing how they monetize the game. Slightly. Like the seasonal activities will be free, but the battle pass rewards you have to pay for that.
which is
Wait.
fine.
Oh,
Which
that's
I think, yeah, I think that would be better.
certainly.
Like if you want the full
Interesting.
experience, you get the season, right? Like
Yeah,
and it's in the big scheme of things, the season/episodes are not that expensive for like what the value proposition is for the seasons. I think they've always been really
Cheap.
good, and
Yeah.
I think probably one of the most worthwhile things of this game.
Like the only other game I play with a battle pass, I mean, it's Overwatch and Zenless, but the Overwatch battle passes are they're cheaper than Destiny battle passes, but it's just cosmetics. There's no
Right.
like activities or stuff tied to it, so
Right.
they're like £4 less. So they're 8. You can get them for like £8.
Yeah.
Which is fine. And then the one in Zenless, I know they're completely different games, but their battle pass is around £7. But you just get materials. There's no extra, expansion stuff. And the materials are useful for a little bit, but once you get to a certain level, they're kind of not. And I feel like with the new, say, battle pass rewards that they're doing, it seems like there'll be more stuff on them. Like we've got extra levels now, haven't we? Because it goes a lot higher. But I feel
Yeah.
like they're going to put more into them.
Yeah, I mean they're even more worth the money, and like I don't know, like that. Everyone's got their own price point, what they're willing to pay.
I mean,
and
I've always paid for the yearly thing.
yeah,
because
same with me.
I don't. I know I'm going to play it.
Right.
And it would just be more expensive for me to not, to pay it separately. I know people are like, don't pre-order. It's like, but I don't play anything else.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
I
I
get that.
think
really.
this game has always like the for what you get. I know like each expansion has gone up in price each year, but I feel like and I know people argue this is not how you should be looking at it, but the number of hours per dollar spent is like absurdly high if you are getting enjoyment out of like playing what this game offers and the seasonal activities.
I
and the
could go
exotic
and see a
missions and-
film that I'd like, or this the price of a dungeon,
Right,
or 2 dungeons actually.
right.
fucking hell, cinemas are expensive.
Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, and I think people, game makers are aware of this. Execs are aware of this, but I think they're probably going to be more valuable now that, like, in terms of rewards for the season pass stuff, because they're going to have to put more into it because the actual season itself is free.
Right. Yeah.
Because I was saying that, I said this a while back, I was going to wonder if Destiny was going to become monetized more like Warframe. It's not, but that was before they'd confirmed, like, the 2 smaller expansion prices sort of thing.
Right.
Because you don't pay for any of their, say, expansion stuff, but you pay for all the cosmetics and shit like that. But they experiment more with the expansions because people aren't turning up going, I expect this. And I'm glad that now going forward, Bungie have said, yeah, we want to experiment more. So, the Apollo story isn't going to be linear.
Right.
But they haven't said, oh, we're just doing that from now on. It's just a test.
Right.
Like, we're just going to see what it's going to be like. Which I'm glad, because I feel like that's why I think there's a lot of the fatigue with, they're saying, like, the expansion, like, Final Shape is far better than most of the Destiny annual expansions. Like, it's far better. Way more polished. But as they said, the number of people buying the expansions goes down just because they know it's more of the same.
Right.
Even if it's better,
right.
it's more of the same. But for some people, that's fine. But for a majority, that's not. But if they get to experiment and change, this year, our main activity that we release is going to be a roguelike thing. It's like, cool. Or the next year, it's this or that. Like, I feel like, I know people want space battles, or whatever in Destiny. I think it's very overrated to want that. I think they're really boring. They're in other games. I play them. They just don't interest me.
Right.
I feel like, I don't think this is, they're definitely going to do this, but I feel like because they can afford to experiment more and they're open to doing that, and that's what they said they want to do, that, we might get something like that.
Sure.
Something, but I'm glad that they've said now in seasons they're looking at core gameplay and they're going, right, we're going to update that instead of adding a new random activity into the game. I mean, they still might do that, but having, like when we said before, when maybe we should have a season dedicated to the core playlist, well, now they're just going to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I know people didn't like Season of the Drifter that much. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it focused around Gambit, but they changed a lot of Gambit. We had Gambit Prime.
Right.
And they were able to change it up a bit. I know some people didn't like Gambit Prime, but it got them, they experimented with the game mode. Maybe we get that going for, I doubt we're going to get a PvP season.
Right.
I only hope, but.
No, I you're not wrong. Like, it maybe it ended up not being the best thing, but certainly people played the hell out of Gambit. Part of that because it was brand new, so that you have to kind of take that into consideration. But the fact that they were experimenting so much with, like, with that playlist, it at least had people in there trying things out, and I still think I hate that they abandoned this because it was such a neat idea. But having the actual, like, set bonuses for being an invader versus the Reaper versus the collector, like, that was such a cool thing that I really wish that they continued to iterate on in other aspects, right? Where it's like, wow, having a whole set of raid gear actually had more implications than just the few of the raid mods that you put on there. Like, having entire sets built around some kind of build, I think could have been a really neat thing that they could have added to this game. And at least they experimented and tried something different. And I think I agree with you. If they keep doing that in the core, like with the core playlist, and giving a reason to continue to play strikes and doing interesting things with them, even something like strike scoring at least rejuvenated the playlist for a while and just had some kind of, like, fun, like, sort of a mini game within the game of, like, how do you optimize your score? And yeah, it ultimately just came down to emoting before finishing champions, but it was still something different that made strikes fun to engage with in a different way, even though you were playing the Devil's Lair for the 9 millionth time. Like it
Yeah.
added something new and interesting to do with that playlist, and it didn't need to be another seasonal. Like I do not understand what the point of going back to the season. I don't even remember what the activity is called. Not terminal overload, because that's the thing. But it's the where you go into the Vex network and you have to keep killing those crystals to extend the timer. Like, and it's basically just like a quick jumping puzzle. I don't know what the point of that activity was. Like, I thought that was going to be the precursor to the exotic mission, but it didn't really seem like it. Like, you're just trying to hack the Vex network, and like I did it a handful of times, but then I kind of stopped because it was like, what is the point of this? And like, I like stop doing things like that where they go away after a year. Invest time into the Strike playlist. Make me want to play that more.
Yeah,
because that's what sticks around.
Well, I'm glad that's what they're doing now.
Yeah.
Apparently, I mean, according to the roadmap, that they follow
we'll
through
have
on
to
that.
See.
Yeah, you know, it's tough because it's like, I don't know, it's kind of an ambiguous roadmap, but hopefully, it seems like that they're going to try and put a new emphasis on core activities, and I feel like they've said that before though, and that has not actually been the case.
Right.
So I'm curious to see if this is actually going to play out.
The PvP strike team?
And
yeah, exactly.
And they even teased that they're kind of maybe going to get rid of Gambit and moving it to like kind of an Iron Banner type thing where maybe it's only here like once a month.
and we said this when we were streaming. That I think that would work.
Yeah.
If they made it so Gambit came out once every few months for a week, and there were certain rules to it.
Right.
And there was special rewards, like good rewards, not like fucking playlist, guns, like actual good guns,
Right.
I know I use a Frozen Orbit as my main sniper, but that's like out of every single Crucible weapon we've had in D2 that's from Shaxx, no.
Right.
Like actual good Gambit guns that have come from it, then hell yeah. I'd play that way more often.
Yeah, I still find myself it's almost like a forced tradition where every time Iron Banner comes, I still want to play it every once in a while, just because I like the way Iron Banner just kind of feels like such a kind of the lifeblood of Destiny. It's been here since the beginning, and like that's kind of one of the things that hooked me into Destiny in the first place, is that first and second time that Iron Banner came around, I played the hell out of it just because I had so much fun with it. And I don't know why, it just kind of stuck with me, and so it's like I try to force myself every time Iron Banner comes along to at least.
Iron Banner is literally just normal Crucible, but with different man speak.
Right. Right, but they have an interesting game mode, right? They're actually experimenting, and that's the thing, right? They keep every time it feels slightly different, because they had Fortress this time, and it doesn't always land, and sometimes it's met with harsh criticism, but then they go, all right, well, we're not doing that again. Here's something else. And it's like, you know what? It's different. It's fun.
And then they can experiment with Gambit more, because then it allows them to do that. And they should do a similar event thing with strikes, where something will happen once every few months, and strikes will be different.
Right.
For the week.
Right. Yeah. Just something like but I think Iron Banner is a good example of
the try. Like, I know I'm not a casual player, and some people will have this elitist outlook. Do this thing where there'll be a special strike thing on in for a week, and the rewards are slightly different, and the way you play the strikes will be different, but it won't be like a Nightfall, like a GM Nightfall, but you can earn like adept Nightfall weapons.
Right. Right. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Just do that for the main, because we've got it for Crucible. Do it for the other two activities.
Or hear me out. Here's a crazy idea.
Oh, he's going to say SRL.
No. What if they introduced armor that was taken from pieces of strike bosses that were defeated, and you had a chance of getting them?
Strike specific.
What a fucking concept.
I've never heard of that in my life.
I need that.
I know.
I need that.
I'm not even.
I want the Tadix cloak. Why?
Yeah,
I'm not even a hunter, and I want that back.
No, I think because a couple weeks ago I played D1, and I was doing the summoning pits, and I was
no, it's a
reminded
D1
how
alphabet.
I know how much the mongrel ogre grasps were awesome for the hunter. The ones that you basically had like the chained like ogre gauntlets for the hunter. I'm like, those are so cool. Or like the dark blades helmet for the Titan, or the seaweed butt towel for the Titan. I know everyone hated that, but like just
yeah, because it. Oh god, my voice. Yeah, because it was either that or Imago Loop.
Right.
So every show wanted fucking Imago Loop. You didn't want the penis
Right.
cloth. Get that shit out of here.
the seaweed belt, but it's like, why? Like, why is something like that such a like? But that was such a cool pursuit item to get those Strike Pacific armor pieces that just like.
No, see, skeleton keys are going to be added to the season pass, and you only get 5 a season. Oh shit, they would do that, wouldn't they?
My gosh.
They would do that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, it might.
New on the season pass, you get skeleton keys. There's only 5 a season.
Oh my
Can't hoard
gosh.
them.
I'm so
5 for
excited.
inventory. And you can get the penis seaweed towel.
Yes!
Or you can get the dark blade helmet. You pick.
I want the
Yeah,
penis.
that would be cool, because then there's a choice that you have to make, and then you have to play next season, because then next season you're like, all right, now I'll get the dark blade helmet since I got the seaweed butt towel, right? Or like,
Oh no.
Yeah.
Why? Have they given a reason why they haven't brought back Strike specifically?
I don't know.
Or is it just them being
I don't
weird?
know. It's like, and I'm not even talking about weapons anymore. I think the Vanguard like adept weapons, like that's cool. Like having Shadow Price be like a thing once in a while, like I think that's cool. I think that kind of covers the Strike Specific weapon part of it. But the
I don't think
armor
it
was
does.
so cool and so unique looking, and it just like I don't know why they refuse to like.
I want Cabal Strategist Val Arun helmet for my Titan. Please.
Can you do your your warden?
Cabal Strategist Val Arun.
That was good.
That was perfect.
That was
oh
perfect.
my god! Thank you. I needed that.
We can only hope to imitate the great D. Bradley Baker.
Wow. Ow. That's so funny. All right, that's about it for us today. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for listening on whatever platform you listen to. But we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitch. We stream on Twitch. Go follow us on Twitter/X. And without further ado, we'll see you next time.
One last thing, because it's necessary to say Zur is selling Gallahorn.
Yeah.
Go buy it. It's such an
By
awesome.
the time they hear this,
I know.
he'll
I
have
know.
sold it the second
But we
time.
have
Sorry,
we
Scotty,
have to
I know
talk
you've been busy.
briefly about how awesome it is that they're doing that. There's like probably
Yeah,
the
that is
best
cool.
like wink nod.
I wonder if they'll sell Divinity.
No, it's not going to sell Divinity. It's just it is such a great nod to the second week of Destiny ever, where he sold Gallahorn, and everyone's like, I'm not going to waste my hard-earned strange coins that were super scarce on a heavy weapon that never really drops ammo, and everyone was a fool. And here we are 10 years later, and he's selling it again. You don't need to have a Grasp of Avarice to buy it, so buy it. It's
Go
too late
get
by
it.
the time this podcast come out. But that's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that he did it. It's cute.
That is super cool.
That's all I got. Thanks everybody for listening.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
See ya.
You can put this voice recording away and go on with your life, because you and I both know you'd have me yapping in your ear for the rest of your days.
Want to further the discussion? Get in touch with us at any of our Twitter handles, all of which can be found at our podcast description.